the original cartoon came out in 1937, and very evidently so.
If I'm going to stand there 18 hours in a dress of an iconic Disney princess, I deserve to be paid for every hour that it is streamed online.
There's a big focus on her love story with a guy who literally stalks her.
Yeah.
Weird.
Rachel Zegler's casting as Disney's Snow White has turned more heads than the fairy tale's magic mirror ever could. Well, don't get us wrong, remakes can be magical, but they can also be a total disaster that might end up costing the studios hundreds of millions. And this seems to be the case with Snow White, which is surrounded by controversies before release. But there's only one person at the center of this drama: Rachel Zegler. From her clear disdain of the original classic to irking people with her bold statements, it seems like she might end up costing Disney big time. Without further ado, let's dive into the drama. Disney's Snow White adaptation, a controversial reboot. It isn't really a secret that Disney has been great at turning its classic animated fairy tales into live-action reboots. While some of these movies, like Beauty and the Beast, The Jungle Book, and The Lion King, have reached some amazing success amid moderate criticism, others have crashed and burned so spectacularly that even Disney seems to want to sweep them under the magic carpet. Still, the studio has been relentless in giving its animated flicks a modern twist, despite the audience reaction. Now, we have the next story in the live-action live-up, and it's none other than Disney's first-ever animated movie, Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. The live-action has been titled Snow White, and it stars Rachel Zegler. But let me just say that this adaptation has been stirring the pot for all the wrong reasons. Critics have taken issue with everything from Zegler's casting to the CGI that might make you wish for the simplicity of animated snowflakes. And of course, there's the ongoing debate about the film's woke elements, which seems to be as controversial as the movie itself. So as we count down to its 2025 release, it looks like the YouTube comment sections are already filled with people detesting and voicing their disapproval over the remake. While it's not exactly a highly anticipated release, the excitement around this movie is still pretty low. To make things worse, people are more interested in the drama surrounding the flick instead of the movie itself. Frankly speaking, it's rare to see a movie generate this much negativity before even releasing a trailer, but now that the trailer's out, it's bringing its own share of drama. So diving into the trailer's chaos and the fresh wave of outrage it sparked, things aren't looking good. Rachel Zegler is back in the spotlight, stirring up controversy with her comments about her co-stars and the original movie. We'll explore how Zegler and this troubled Snow White remake have put Disney in a difficult position. Let's get into the details. Snow White was originally slated for a March 2024 release, but to everyone's surprise, in October last year, Disney decided to push it back a whole year to March 2025. They cited the SAG-AFTRA strike, but come on, a year-long delay just for that? Seems a bit fishy. More likely, Disney needed extra time to overhaul significant parts of the movie, especially after the outcry over those infamous leaked set photos of the Seven Dwarfs. Not only did Disney race and gender swap the characters, but they also decided against casting actors with dwarfism, claiming it was too problematic for reasons over which we have only received some vague statements. So Disney decided they needed extra time to redo a bunch of scenes and replace actors with CGI dwarfs, as seen in the trailer. Instead of casting real actors with dwarfism, who, let's face it, would have been pretty perfect for the roles, they opted for CGI. Why? It's confusing to say the least. Using dwarf actors to play dwarfs isn't problematic. It's just common sense. They're real people with real careers, and opportunities like this are rare. By shunning them, Disney not only missed a chance to be inclusive, but also ended up with CGI dwarfs that look like they were assembled in a rush by a robot on its first day. These CGI dwarfs move like they're robotic and being forced to move around, especially in those dance scenes with Snow White. It's like watching a clunky video game from the early 2000s. As if the backlash wasn't enough, it looks like Disney's unexpected moves have cost them a huge fortune as well. So yeah, their attempt to save face by avoiding real actors has backfired spectacularly. Initial estimates have revealed the movie's budget at around $200 million, which was already hefty. Now it's escalated to a staggering $330 million, making it the 10th most expensive film ever. To put it in perspective, it's more costly than Avengers: Infinity War, a film with actual superheroes fighting in epic battles. You see, things aren't looking good. Mind you, this doesn't even include the marketing costs. Not to forget, the theaters are also supposed to take their slice of the box office. Clearly, everything has been a hot mess. Given these financial management, industry experts have been saying that the movie needs to rake in around $900 million, possibly even $1 billion, just to break even. Given the trailer's reception, that seems like a long shot. It's not the most disliked trailer ever, but it's Disney's most ratioed one to date. As of now, it's got more than 10 million views with 90,000 likes and a jaw-dropping 1.2 million dislikes. With such an underwhelming reception, it's hard to see this as anything but a massive financial and reputational failure for Disney. Like, they had already been struggling at landing a hit movie lately. Although Inside Out 2 and Deadpool and Wolverine saved their faces this year, it looks like Snow White might just push them back into failure. Rachel Zegler's controversial statements. And let's not forget, Rachel Zegler, the film's lead, isn't exactly helping matters. She's been stirring up a storm with her comments and feuds with co-stars, which isn't doing Disney any favors. So buckle up, because this Snow White drama is shaping up to be one for the history books, just not the good kind. Honestly, things are looking even worse than the whole ordeal with Don't Worry, Darling. Like, that should give you an idea of how bad things are between the co-stars here. First off, let's make it clear that we are as confused as everyone regarding Disney's decision to cast Rachel Zegler for the role of Snow White. Looking at the casting choice, it's hard not to wonder if Disney was operating on a different plane of reality. If we're talking appearances, Zegler doesn't exactly scream Snow White unless Disney's got a new vision for blind casting. Perhaps they were aiming for someone who captured Snow White's sweetness and humility. But if that was the goal, they missed the mark by a mile. Take Zegler's comments, for example. Her statement, "If I'm going to stand there 18 hours in a dress of an iconic Disney princess, I deserve to be paid for every hour that it is streamed online," sounds more like she's auditioning for a reality TV show about diva behavior than playing a beloved character. It's as if she's confusing being cast as Snow White with winning the lottery. For context, she's already banking a cool $2 million or more for this role, a pretty hefty sum for someone who has just started their career. Mind you, she wasn't a household name when she was cast, like it was around the time when Donald Trump was running for president for the first time. Compare that to Andrew Garfield, who was a bigger star when he took on Spider-Man and got just half that amount for his first film. Garfield didn't complain. He embraced the role and the pay he agreed to. Zegler's demand to be paid per hour of streaming time? That's like asking to be paid extra for every second a movie runs. Honestly, even if it was some playful banter, people would have ignored it. But she seemed pretty entitled in her interviews. No wonder people haven't been fond of her personality. In fact, they have voiced their disapproval on the internet. So the casting choice of Rachel Zegler as Snow White is a real head-scratcher, especially considering her apparent hate for the classic film. If you listen to her interviews, it's clear she's not exactly quite thrilled with the storyline of the 1937 original. In fact, she almost sounded like she was on a mission to distance herself from it. Also, her comments about the prince in the original movie are flattering. She describes him as a creepy guy who stalked Snow White. I mean, this is reasonable, but the thing is, not every character has to be morally good on screen nowadays. There's definitely a reason why people enjoyed the original movie so much and have a clear attachment with the characters. However, Rachel and Disney seem to be putting a woke twist on the classic fairy tale. According to Zegler, this new version of Snow White won't feature a traditional prince. Instead, we've got a different kind of prince, or possibly none at all. Andrew Burnap, who plays this so-called prince, might end up having way less time than we might have thought. Disney's controversial new twist on storyline.
I was scared of the original cartoon. I think I watched it once and then I never picked it up again. Like, I'm being so serious. I watched it once and then I went on, doesn't sound like something a little kid would like, was terrified of it, never revisited Snow White again.
Zegler's version of Snow White is apparently more focused on becoming a leader, as her late father supposedly envisioned her, a fearless, fair, brave, and true leader. Because nothing says timeless fairy tale like ditching the classic love story for a modern feminist twist. Forget dreaming of true love. This Snow White's dream is to lead and conquer. It's a far cry from the original plot where the prince saves Snow White and true love's kiss breaks the spell. Instead, we're getting a Snow White who's too busy planning her rise to leadership to worry about romance. So, if you are expecting a classic love story, you might want to adjust your expectations, or better yet, just watch the 1937 version and imagine Snow White in charge of a corporate empire. From Disney's recent D23 showcase, it's clear that the new Snow White remake has taken a nosedive into a modern mess. The trailer reveals a scene that perfectly captures the film's issues. A side-by-side comparison shows just how much the remake has missed the mark. In the classic 1937 movie, Snow White, led to the dwarfs' cottage by necessity, cleans their home out of kindness. She's motivated by the thought of children living there without a mother, and her actions are a gesture of care. With her little animal friends lending a hand, she aims to surprise them and earn her keep. Fast forward to Zegler's version, where Snow White's approach is totally different from the original storyline. Instead of being the loving housekeeper, she's turned into a demanding leader. In this update, Snow White struts into the dwarfs' home and immediately starts giving them orders, making them clean up their own mess without lifting a finger herself. Clearly, this new portrayal strips away Snow White's nurturing side and replaces it with a bossy, somewhat entitled attitude. So, in the updated film, Snow White doesn't clean to win favor or show gratitude. She shows up, takes advantage of the dwarfs' hospitality, and then forces them to do even more work. You've got to wonder why the dwarfs would even let her stay if she's not contributing anything meaningful. What does she bring to the table, besides a modern feminist critique of domestic chores? Disney's push to make Snow White's character fit into a contemporary world is clashing with basic storytelling and character development. In the quest to avoid traditional roles and embrace identity politics, the film seems to have sacrificed genuine narrative and character depth. The result? A Snow White who's less of a fairy tale heroine and more of a modern-day intruder. Common sense might not be the strong suit of this remake, especially when it comes to the movie's premise. The plot's big conflict revolves around the evil queen, played by Gal Gadot, being envious of Snow White's beauty. I mean, seriously? Since when does a magical mirror become a liar in a fairy tale? One standout comment sums it up perfectly. Snow White tells the prince, "I don't need a man," to which he replies, "That's fine, I'm here for your stepmom." It's a great punchline for a movie that seems to be stumbling over itself with inaccuracies and a shaky premise. The tensions between Rachel Zegler and Gal Gadot. But the issues don't stop there. The film's problems are also surrounded by the drama surrounding the casting choices, the portrayal of the dwarfs, and Rachel Zegler's controversial interviews, which have turned this movie into a circus. As if that weren't enough, Zegler's return to the spotlight with the trailer release has stirred up yet another storm of controversy. In what can only be described as a classic case of bad timing, Zegler managed to provoke a new wave of drama by inserting a political statement into her movie promotion. After thanking fans for the trailer's 120 million views, a pretty standard and harmless gesture, she took a sharp turn and posted, "And always remember, free Palestine." This sudden pivot to discussing the Gaza conflict was as unexpected as it was ill-timed, especially given that her co-star, Gal Gadot, is Israeli and has a very different perspective on the issue. Obviously, it was an unexpected move, considering Gadot is directly affected by the conflict, with her home and family in the mix. Zegler's ill-considered comment has only added fuel to the fire of this movie's already chaotic rollout, proving once again that sometimes it's better to keep quiet than to stir up unnecessary drama. It's no surprise that she has openly expressed her pro-Israel views, which are influenced by her Israeli heritage. During the 2014 Gaza war, she showed support for Israeli soldiers and the nation by posting on Facebook to express solidarity with her compatriots and criticize Hamas. In 2021, she advocated for peace and mutual coexistence in the Israel-Palestine conflict, hoping for a resolution that guarantees safety and freedom for both Israelis and Palestinians. After the Hamas attack on Israel on October 7, 2023, Gadot maintained her support by sharing posts on Instagram, urging global support for Israel, condemning the violence, and calling for the release of Israeli hostages. She also made public efforts to raise awareness about the situation, such as organizing a screening of related footage. Rachel, however, is not personally involved in the conflict. So why create controversy? Why not stick to discussing the movie? Godot, despite her strong personal views, focused on promoting the film without mixing in her political beliefs. In contrast, Rachel appears to have heightened the tension by making a statement that many interpret as a criticism of her co-star. Gal Gadot's reaction? She opted for a more subtle approach. On Instagram, she posted a story with the message, "Only love can truly save the world," alongside a quote from Martin Luther King Jr. "Darkness cannot drive out darkness. Only light can do that. Hate cannot drive out hate. Only love can do that." This was a graceful response promoting positivity, clearly countering Rachel's more contentious message. But that's not all. Godot took to Twitter with a more direct critique. Trying to campaign on the head of your co-star, who actually lives through war just so you will look cooler with the kids, is really pathetic. This is a clear jab at Rachel's approach, unmistakably criticizing her actions. With both actresses soon expected to face the press and promote the movie together, one can only wonder how Disney plans to spin this into a harmonious, family-friendly dynamic. Given the tension between the two leads, it's hard to see how they'll manage to create the illusion of great on-screen chemistry, like we already got a glimpse at D23. Social media is abuzz with talk about the D23 event photos, and they're serving up plenty of drama. A viral tweet suggests that the tensions between Rachel Zegler and Gal Gadot were almost visible off-camera. In every photo, Godot appears cheerful and friendly, even putting a warm arm around Rachel. In contrast, Rachel's face portrays a forced enthusiasm, as if she's merely enduring the event and eagerly awaiting its end to escape the awkwardness. During the interview, Godot is radiant, laughing, and fully engaged with the movie questions, seemingly unaware of any underlying tension. Rachel, however, wears a strained smile, clearly uncomfortable being next to her co-star. If this seemed like a calm before the storm, it was. Things deteriorated quickly after this, and future public appearances between these two are unlikely to see Godot maintaining the same cheerful demeanor. So one thing's clear. If there's one thing Rachel Zegler seems to excel at, it's making a bad situation worse. Disney's attempt to salvage the movie with the trailer has only highlighted how far off course this project is. Instead of fixing things, it's become clear that canceling the film might have been the better option. Spending more time, money, and effort on this film seems like a fruitless endeavor, especially when you consider the potential for another The Marvels-type disaster. Honestly, it's a movie that wouldn't be missed. So what do you think? Are you even remotely interested in this remake, or are you ready to give it a pass? Share your thoughts on the changes and Rachel Zegler's lovely statements in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video and want to support the channel, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Thanks for watching.